Lost Soul Aside has been in development for a decade, a one-man project which was later backed by Sony. But the big question is, does it live up to the hype? When Sony held back review codes for a last-minute patch, it honestly had me worried about the game's condition. I was genuinely excited for a new action game to really dive into. And after spending several hours with Lost Soul Aside, I'm honestly a bit torn. I really want to love it, and there's a lot here I do enjoy, but certain flaws just stick out like a sore thumb, taking me out of the whole experience. The first place you really start to feel this is in the story.
Your sister's soul will soon be mine.
Never! I won't let that happen.
The setup is actually pretty strong. You play as Kaiser, a stoic protagonist fighting to rescue his sister Louisa in a war-torn world. Right away, it feels more personal than the usual save-the-world plot, and I like that. Kaiser's bond with Louisa has a ton of emotional potential, and when Arena comes into the picture, this wolf-headed dragon-like entity he fuses with, you get this fun, almost Venom symbiote-like banter that really lightens up the heavier tone. But that momentum doesn't last. The writing just isn't there. Dialogue comes off stiff, emotional moments don't hit, and a lot of the world building is dumped into the glossary instead of unfolding naturally. Like finding out Kaiser and Louisa grew up as orphans who joined a rebel alliance, that should have been a powerful story beat. Instead, you only get it if you dig through menus. Characters like Celine, Gethia, and Zaina all start out strong with cool designs, but they never get the depth they deserve. The pacing just rushes everything along until the story turns into a generic fantasy about empires and rebels and dimensional invaders. If I could sum it up, it feels like it wants to be like Final Fantasy, but it just doesn't have the depth to back it up.
I'll show you what I'm made of! Time to flex thy muscles!
This is easily where Lost Soul Aside shines. The combat is stylish, responsive, and straight up fun. You can swap between different weapons mid-combo, swords, greatswords, scythes, for flashy fluid chains that feel amazing to pull off. On top of that, the combat rewards precision. A perfect dodge triggers a counterattack called Unbound Energy, letting you strike back instantly. A perfect block staggers enemies and gives you a window for follow-ups. Then, you've got Burst Pursuit, which is when you nail the timing after certain attacks with R2. You unleash a strong follow-up move that flows perfectly into your combo. And finally, the Fusion Merge. Kaiser enters a Devil Trigger mode where he fuses with Arena to deal more damage. All of these mechanics stack together to make fights feel sharp, strategic, and constantly engaging. It's not just button mashing. You really need timing and creativity to get the most out of the combat system. If there's another thing the game nails, it's the bosses. They roll in with big cutscenes, crazy designs, and mechanics that force you to use everything you've learned. The second boss in particular finally gave me the challenge I'd been waiting for, pushing me to chain dodges, parries, and combos non-stop. Even when bosses weren't that hard, they still looked awesome and made the fight memorable. Speaking of outside of bosses, the difficulty just feels a little too easy. Regular enemies are predictable, perfect block and dodge timings are a little generous, and with no difficulty modes, there's no way to adjust the challenge. Exploration is super shallow, puzzles are too easy, and the lack of side quests makes the world feel kind of empty. The combat system's excellent, but unfortunately the loop around it is too thin to carry the whole game. Character designs feel straight out of Final Fantasy. Layered outfits, slick weapons, and stylish protagonists. Kaiser looks great, the supporting cast stand out, and the Voidrak's enemies look alien and dangerous, like they don't belong in this world at all. Arena floating alongside Kaiser gives the game a unique hook you won't forget. But when you're actually playing, the cracks start to show. Performance issues, frame dips, stutters, even characters freezing up in cutscenes. Sometimes they just stand run around like mannequins during emotional moments, and it completely kills any sense of immersion you've had, which is something I really wasn't expecting from a game that took a decade to make. Visuals aside, the soundtrack goes for that big, sweeping Final Fantasy vibe. Epic orchestral scores, pounding battle themes, moody ambient tracks. And when it works, it works. It adds real weight to the combat and scale to the world. But sometimes the audio mixing trips it up. Music cuts off awkwardly between gameplay and cutscenes. Transitions feel clunky and it just pulls you out of the moment.
Monsters and humans harnessing monstrous powers. We'll meet again, peasants. You can count on it.
Voice acting's also a miss too. Arena is easily the best. Smug, arrogant, funny, he nails it. But most of the cast feels flat. Kaiser especially struggles, sometimes sounding fine, but most of the time just sounding like he's reading lines straight off a script. It's like they wanted Johnny Young Bosch, but they got Johnny Young Bosch at home. Which is unfortunate cause the designs beg for strong performances, but most of the voices don't really deliver. At the end of the day, for $60, Lost Soul Aside is tough to recommend at full price. The combat is cool and flashy, that part alone is worth experiencing if you love stylish hack and slash action. But the story, the polish, and the overall challenge just don't match up. For that, we're giving Lost Soul Aside a 60 out of 100. It's a fascinating project and you can feel the passion, but it doesn't quite live up to the decade-long hype. If you're here just for the combat, and I really mean just the combat, not the whole gameplay, you'll have fun. But if you want the full package, you'd probably walk away disappointed. But what about you? Are you planning to dive into Lost Soul Aside? And hey, got any other action RPGs you think deserve more attention? Drop them in the comments. And if you enjoyed this review, don't forget to like and subscribe for more gaming content right here on Game 8. Thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next one.